I've always loved the architecture of churches, especially the rosary and tall arched windows. Today, we're going to design and make a simple church-inspired candle box. To design this project, I start with a rough outline of the front of the church. The idea was to have two tall rectangular bays, which resembles the Notre Dame Cathedral. With the overall form complete, I start brainstorming the size, shapes, and locations of windows. I know the design will include one rosary and multiple arched windows, so I start with their general shapes. I continue refining the design until the windows are shorter and higher up on the wall so that I could fit 3 arched doorways at the bottom. This breaks up the openings in the wall into smaller elements that help with the overall proportion of it. Next, I added details by offsetting the arched doorways to mimic the setbacks that most church doorways have at their perimeter. Now that the overall shape of the openings are set, I add frames to them to add depth and detail to each one. I kept the rosary window simple for this design to match the shapes and style of the other openings. The rest of the design process was simple, with the side walls being a series of tall arched windows. The back wall was a duplicate of the front wall with the exception of the roof. I decided to make the rooftop slope to both sides, which is how a lot of cathedrals are designed. I also considered adding buttresses between each of the tall windows in the side wall, but decided against it. Just like all of my other projects, the last step was to create a 3D model of the church to double check my design and all of the alignment. There were a few adjustments that I had to make with the rooftop, and I almost forgot to design the floor plate and details for the walls to tab into it. After I updated the design, this is how the 3D model turned out. When the design was complete, I applied paper masking tape to the 1/8-inch mahogany plywood to protect it from dirt and debris during the laser cutting process. I loaded the material into my Glowforge laser cutter and started the process of laser cutting. My architecture series of tea light candle boxes are really starting to grow beyond what I imagined. I've already designed and made 4 unique ones, with a design for a 5th one being developed. The best part of creating these candle boxes is that it combines my love of architecture with my craft hobby in a seamless way. It's also great to see other people creating some of my designs with their own laser cutter. If you're interested in purchasing a Glowforge for yourself, I'll share a link in the description section of this video that'll save you up to $500 off of a Glowforge Pro. When the pieces were cut, I took them out of my Glowforge and placed them on my work table. I removed the paper masking tape from all the pieces to reveal the beautiful mahogany plywood. Then, I brought over a natural oil finish and applied it to the surfaces of the plywood using a lint-free cloth. For this step, you can use whatever finish you want to for your project, but I prefer to use a natural oil for mine. Next, I bring over a roll of trace paper, a ruler, and a utility knife. I use the grid on my cutting mat to cut the trace paper to the width of the side walls of the church-inspired candle box. I move one of the side walls over to the side of the cutting mat and cut the paper down to size. I repeat this with the remainder of the walls of the product. Using MaxiCure Superglue, I apply a drop of it to the corners and center of the top and bottom edges of the trace paper. I turn the sheet of paper over and carefully glue it into place. I repeat this with the remainder of the trace paper. This will block direct views of the candle inside, and instead it'll make the windows appear to glow. With the trace paper attached to each piece, I apply the MaxiCure Superglue onto the tabs and slots of one side of the church-inspired candle box, bring over the adjacent wall, and attach them together. I repeat this step with all of the walls. Once the glue dries, I apply MaxiCure super glue between each slot in the floor piece, bring over the wall assembly, align the tabs at the bottom of each wall with the slots in the floor, and use a rubber mallet to tap it into place. Next, I apply superglue to the top edge of the back wall where the roof panel will be installed. I align the tab at the top of the wall with the slot in the roof panel and press it into place. The last roof panel won't be glued into place because it'll be the one that we remove whenever we want to change the candles inside. With the assembly complete, the last step is to turn on the LED tea light candle and place it inside the church-inspired candle box. And this is how the candle box turned out. I love the shape of the windows and the depth that the details add to the overall product. It was also a quick and simple project to put together. If you enjoyed this video, check out this playlist of my other wood crafts and consider subscribing. I'll see you again next week.